What if I told you that reality has been speaking to you every single day of your life, but you've been trained not to hear it? Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. Look closer. A song plays the moment you think of someone you haven't seen in years. Numbers repeat themselves, 1111, 333, 1320, 999, following you from clocks to receipts to license plates. A stranger shows up in the most ordinary place and casually drops the exact answer you've been searching for. These moments are too sharp, too precise, too woven to be dismissed as chance. Yet you've been taught to call them coincidences, to shrug, to laugh, to move on. Deep down, though, you've always felt it. That whisper inside that says, "This means something." And you're right. Synchronicities are not accidents. They are messages. They are the fingerprints of a deeper intelligence embedded in the fabric of reality itself. They are not random. They are rhythm. They are not luck. They are law. And once you start paying attention, once you learn to read the signs, your world will never look the same again. The ancients knew this. Mystics studied it. Philosophers lived by it. And yet modern society has conditioned you to dismiss it, to call it chance, to call it bias, to call it delusion. Why? Because the system does not want you to realize the truth. If you understood synchronicities for what they really are, you would realize you are not a powerless spectator in an indifferent universe. You are a participant in an intelligent field that is constantly responding to you. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. From the moment you were born, conditioning began. You were handed a framework, a world of logic, structure, and predictability. Everything had to have a rational explanation. Anything that didn't fit was dismissed as imagination, superstition, or madness. But what if that conditioning wasn't neutral? What if it was a veil? A way of keeping you from recognizing the deeper patterns that reality has been broadcasting to you since the beginning. Think back to your childhood. You knew things then. You noticed alignments, you sensed energy, you felt intuition as natural as breathing. You knew when someone was about to call. You knew when something was about to happen. You felt it in your chest before it unfolded in the room. But when you shared it, what happened? You were told, it's just your imagination. Don't be silly, that's not real. Slowly you learned to ignore it, to doubt yourself, to trust external authority instead of inner knowing. Schools reinforced it. They didn't teach you how to track patterns or listen to intuition. They taught you to memorize, obey, and conform. They told you reality was purely physical, measurable, controllable. That creativity was optional, that imagination was childish, that mystery was irrelevant. And so, you stopped paying attention. The culture crowned materialist science as the only authority, but not real science, the kind that questions everything, that explores the unknown. Instead, a rigid version designed to gatekeep reality. This model told you everything is random, meaningless, coincidence, and synchronicities. They are just cognitive bias. See 1111 on the clock? Confirmation bias. Meet the perfect person at the perfect time. Just luck. Feel the universe nudge you. Pure accident. But here's the truth they don't want you to remember. The greatest minds in history knew better. Carl Jung named synchronicity itself, after watching countless coincidences align in ways too deep to be chance. Nikola Tesla whispered that to understand the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Albert Einstein admitted that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. They knew reality is not random, it is patterned, it is responsive, it is alive. Yet those who speak of synchronicity openly today are labeled as irrational, superstitious, delusional. Because if people wake up to the truth of synchronicities, control breaks. When you realize the field is speaking to you, guiding you, co-creating with you, you stop obeying blindly. You stop outsourcing your power. You start listening to something deeper than systems, and that's what they fear. Because synchronicities are cracks in the illusion. They reveal that the universe is not a machine of cold indifference. It is an intelligent field. It is responsive. It is intimate. It is interactive. And you are not separate from it. You are woven into it. You've felt this before. That precise moment when something aligns so perfectly it feels like the script of your life was written with impossible care. The phone call you needed, the book that opened to the right page, the dream that later unfolded in waking life. These are not accidents. These are invitations. The field is speaking. The ancients lived by this awareness. The Egyptians encoded it in their myths. Amun, the hidden one whispering through the unseen. The Greeks called it logos, the word, the pattern, the ordering principle. The Vedic sages spoke of Urta, which is the cosmic rhythm beneath all cycles. The Taoists described it as the Tao, the way that cannot be named, yet guides everything. Mystics across every culture recognize synchronicity not as superstition, but as evidence of coherence. Even quantum physics has stumbled into it. The double-slit experiment showed that observation itself changes reality. Non-locality shows that particles remain connected across infinite distances. The Planck field reveals a vacuum teeming with hidden energy. At the smallest scales, separation dissolves. The observer and the observed blur into one, and synchronicities are the fingerprints of this hidden order pressing into your daily life. So let me ask you, if reality is patterned, if everything in nature moves in ratios, spirals, and fractals, why would your life be the one exception? Why would your choices, your thoughts, your emotions not also ripple in patterns that reality reflects back? The truth is, they do. Synchronicities are the echoes. But here's the mystery. Where do they come from? Who sends them? Some say it's your higher self, guiding you like a lighthouse across the fog. Some say it's the collective unconscious, the vast reservoir of human memory and archetypes surfacing in moments of alignment. Some say it's Source itself, God, the one creator, placing breadcrumbs to lead you home. Others whisper of simulations, with synchronicities as coded signals, reminding you that you are inside a design. Whatever the origin, the effect is the same. Synchronicities wake you up. They remind you that you are not moving through a dead cosmos. You are in conversation with an alive intelligence. But the conversation is subtle. It speaks in whispers, not shouts. In patterns, not paragraphs. And most people miss it, not because the signs aren't there, but because they've been trained to ignore them. The people who experience the most synchronicities are not lucky. They are attentive, they are listening, they are receptive, they are willing to believe the field speaks. And when they do, it multiplies. Because reality responds to recognition. The more you notice, the more it shows. Think of it like a radio. The signals are always there, broadcasting in every direction. But if you're not tuned, you hear static. When you tune in, suddenly the music is clear. Synchronicities are the music. Awareness is the dial. This is why some live their lives full of alignment, flow, and effortless timing, while others feel stuck in randomness. It is not that one is chosen and the other forgotten. It is that one is listening and the other is not. But here is the key. Synchronicities are not just signs. They are invitations, they are opportunities, they are doors. The question is not whether you've seen them, the question is whether you've walked through them. Most people don't. They notice a repeating number, they smile, they shrug, they move on, they meet the perfect person, but they hesitate. They hear the whisper, but they drown it in noise. And then they say the sign stopped. The truth is the signs never stopped. They stopped listening. Because synchronicities don't just want to be observed, they want to be acted on. They are catalysts. They are the universe placing a key in your hand, but you must choose to turn it. I've lived this myself. I remember a period in my life when synchronicities exploded. Everywhere I looked, Numbers, names, songs, dreams, encounters. It felt like the entire field was orchestrating symphonies around me. At first, I thought it was wonder, just magic to notice. But then I realized the real power was not in noticing, but in responding. When I followed the signs, doors opened that logic could never have built. When I ignored them, the stream slowed. It became undeniable. Synchronicities were not random. They were a dialogue, and the dialogue deepened the more I trusted it. This is the truth. Synchronicities are proof that reality is not static. It is plastic. It bends, it rearranges, it responds. You are not trapped inside a machine. You are co-creating with a mind as vast as the cosmos itself. And the more you listen, the more you align, the more you recognize, the faster reality reorganizes around you. Synchronicities are not rare. They are everywhere. The only question is, are you awake enough to see them? So now, look back at your own life. The times when something impossible lined up. The moment when help arrived just in time. The chance meeting that changed everything. These were not coincidences. They were coherence revealing itself. They were the one speaking through the many. They were reality whispering, you are not alone. You are guided. You are connected. This is the secret the system doesn't want you to know. This is why synchronicities are dismissed, ridiculed, ignored. Because the moment you start listening, the illusion cracks. You realize you are not powerless. You realize the field speaks. You realize your life is not random, it is relational. And you begin to live differently. You begin to walk through doors others don't see. You begin to act from alignment instead of fear. You begin to co-create with the intelligence beneath the surface, and life begins to bend around you, not because you forced it, but because you listened. So hear this clearly. Synchronicities are not accidents. They are the language of coherence. They are the pulse of the field. They are the hidden music guiding you back to center. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to force them. You only need to recognize them, to trust them, to step through the doors they open, because the universe has been speaking to you all along. And now, it's time to listen. But let me tell you something that changed everything for me. There was a season in my life when I lived in chaos. Every day felt like pushing against invisible walls. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I planned, nothing moved. Everything felt misaligned. Bills stacked up, relationships frayed, opportunities slipped away like water through my hands. And then, out of nowhere, strange little alignments began to appear. It began as something I almost missed. A number, 1320, appearing here and there in my life. First on a receipt I didn't even mean to keep, then on a passing license plate that caught my eye for no reason. Later, on the door of a hotel room I wasn't even supposed to stay in. Each time I brushed it aside. Coincidence, I told myself, just random. But it didn't stop. Then came the day when it showed itself in a way I could no longer ignore. I was standing at an intersection, lost in thought about a decision that would shape the next chapter of my life. I looked up, and the street signs above me read 13th Avenue, crossing 20th Street. Something in my chest tightened. My breath caught. It was like reality itself leaned in close and whispered, "Pay attention." That night I finally listened. I searched, and what I found lit up my entire body. 13, a number long misunderstood. In modern superstition, it's branded as unlucky. Hotels skip the 13th floor, people avoid it. But long before fear distorted its meaning, 13 was revered. In numerology, 13 is the number of transformation. 12 is the cycle of order. The 12 months, the 12 signs, the 12 tribes, the 12 hours. But 13 breaks the circle. 13 is the portal into a higher octave. It is death of the old, but only because birth is waiting on the other side. 13 is not misfortune, it is initiation. And 20. 20 is the number of awakening. In numerology, it is a higher form of 2, partnership, harmony, balance, but amplified with 0, the number of source, infinity, divine backing. 20 is the call to rise, to align with divine purpose, to see life from a higher vantage point. In angel numbers, 20 carries the energy of clarity, of being guided into your soul's true path. It is not random, it is orchestration. Together, 13 and 20 form a code, a rhythm, a pattern that has echoed through time far longer than we remember. The Mayans built their entire calendar, the Tzolk'in, on the interplay of these two numbers, 13 sacred tones and 20 solar glyphs. 13 multiplied by 20 gives 260, the sacred cycle of creation, the heartbeat of time itself. The Mayans saw this as the matrix of reality, the way energy moves, grows, and evolves through cycles of completion and renewal. So when 1320 kept following me, it wasn't just numbers on receipts or signs, it was the field itself speaking. It was coherence, arranging patterns around me to say, you are at the end of one cycle, step into the next, and the timing made sense. Because I could feel it, one chapter of my life was dissolving. Old structures were breaking down. Relationships, habits, ways of thinking, they were collapsing, not because I was failing, but because something new was demanding space. 13 was the death of the old shell. 20 was the awakening of the new vision. Together, 1320 was the bridge. But here's what struck me most. Synchronicities like these are not accidents. They are not random flickers of luck. They are coherence breaking through the noise, reality itself arranging mirrors so you can see what your conscious mind has been too distracted to notice. Numbers are one of the cleanest ways the field speaks because numbers are universal. 13 means transformation across every culture. 20 means completion and awakening across every system. These codes don't belong to one religion or one philosophy. They belong to the fabric of reality itself. I realized then that the number wasn't magic in itself. It didn't have power over me. It was a mirror, a signal, an alignment device. Reality was saying, it's time. Step through the portal, let the old dissolve. Trust the rebirth. The field is with you. And I did. I let go of the cycle I had been gripping. I stepped into the unknown, into a new chapter. And from that moment, synchronicities multiplied around me. More numbers, more uncanny alignments, more perfect timings that left no room for doubt. 1320 had become my code, my personal whisper from the universe. Not to cling to numbers as superstition, but to recognize them as symbols, ancient, mathematical, and coherent, reminding me that life is not random, life is precise. Life is talking, always. And now, maybe that's why you're hearing this too. Because the same pattern that spoke through me might be speaking through you. Maybe you've seen your own repeating numbers, maybe 1111 or 444 or even 1320 has been chasing you down. It's not an accident, it's a message. The field speaks in symbols because symbols bypass logic and strike straight into recognition. 13 says, release, transform, step beyond. 20 says, align, awaken, move into coherence with source. Together they call you to remember, this is not the end, it is a passage. This is the heart of synchronicity. It is not about superstition, it is about communication. The field speaks in symbols, numbers, encounters, alignments, because those are the forms you are already surrounded by. It doesn't shout, it whispers through the fabric of the ordinary. And here's the paradox. Once you begin to recognize synchronicities, they increase. Not because they weren't there before, but because you've tuned your perception. It's like the stars. During the day, they are present in the sky, burning with the same brilliance. But the sunlight hides them. At night, when the veil thins, you see them everywhere. Synchronicities are like that, always present. hidden until you look. The Egyptians knew this truth well. They spoke of Ma'at, the principle of divine order woven into everything. To live against Ma'at was to live in chaos. To align with it was to live in harmony. And synchronicities are the fingerprints of Ma'at in your life, the field rearranging itself to show you where order is already waiting beneath your perception. The Greeks called it kairos, the opportune moment, time that is not linear but ripe. A chance alignment that opens when the field says now. Every synchronicity you experience is kairos in action, a doorway opening not by your schedule but by the rhythm of the one. And the Taoists? They called it Wu Wei, effortless alignment with the flow. When you are in Wu Wei, synchronicities multiply because you are no longer forcing. You are listening. You are moving with the stream rather than against it. But here's the deeper layer. Synchronicities are not just guidance. They are mirrors. They reveal your state. When you are fragmented, synchronicities vanish. Not because the field stops speaking, but because your awareness stops hearing. When you are coherent, aligned within yourself, synchronicities surge, not as reward, but as reflection. I remember another time when this became undeniable. Awakening is not a straight line. Even after the first time I saw the fabric of synchronicity, even after the revelations that cracked my worldview wide open, I still found myself in storms. The mind still crept back with doubts. Old fears resurfaced. The pull of the known, the familiar, the safe, those voices never fully vanish. It was after my surgery. I had been out for over a month, suspended in a strange space between worlds. The experience itself had been an awakening. I was flooded with synchronicities, messages, alignments that made it impossible to keep living the way I had been. 16 years in a job that I had long outgrown. 16 years of safety over purpose. And now the field was showing me again and again that my true calling, my real work, was waiting. But as I healed, as I came back to daily life, the old fears came too. What if I was wrong? What if I walked away and failed? What if I was making it all up? And then came the date. September 9th, 2025. The 9th day of the 9th month of a 9-year. When you add up the digits in 2025, you get 9, the 999 portal. This isn't just numerology trivia. The 999 portal is a rare alignment, repeating only once every 10 years. In angel numbers, 9 is the vibration of completion, wisdom, and higher service. It is the end of a cycle and the call to step into your purpose as a contributor to collective evolution. 999 magnifies this energy into a portal of endings and beginnings. It is the universe's way of saying the old cycle is done. It cannot be carried further. Step into the new. Step into service. On that exact day, something strange happened. For 5 consecutive hours, every time I glanced at the clock, it was 20 past the hour. 1:20, 2:20, 3:20, 4:20, 5:20. Not once or twice, 5 times. Like a drum beat. Like the field was underlining the message so I couldn't miss it. 20, the number of divine partnership, of awakening, alignment, and higher support. In angel numbers, 20 is a reminder that you are not alone, that the divine stands behind you, arranging details you cannot see. In numerology, it is 2 amplified by 0, the harmony of relationship merged with source itself. It is the whisper. You are guided. You are backed. You are safe to step forward. 13 had once come to me as the number of transformation. But here was 20, repeating like clockwork, layered onto the 999 portal, confirming the next step. The old job is complete. The cycle is closed. Step into your purpose. The divine is behind you. I knew then that the doubts were only echoes of the old self. That day was the first day back after surgery, the first day I was stepping into life again. And reality itself had arranged it so that the very fabric of time carried the message. Every 20 on the clock was coherence itself, reminding me that endings are never empty. They are thresholds. The 999 portal was not just a date on a calendar. It was the field speaking in numbers, in patterns, in synchronicities, saying, trust, let go, step into what you are actually here to do. The cycle of safety is finished. The cycle of purpose begins. And the message landed so deeply that the fear lost its grip. Because once you know the field itself is behind you, once you see the numbers align with such precision, you can't keep pretending it's all random. You can't keep living small. You can only walk through the portal. That was the day I chose, fully, finally, to leave the job of 16 years. That was the day I stopped circling and stepped into alignment. Because the universe had already confirmed, the ending is the beginning. The divine is behind you, and coherence never misleads. This is the key most people miss. Synchronicities are not entertainment. They are instruction. They are not passive. They are participatory. The universe will not drag you through the door. It will show you the door, and then wait to see if you walk. And the more you walk, the more the doors appear. This is why people who live aligned lives appear to move in effortless flow. It's not that they're special. It's not that life spares them storms. It's that they recognize the signals, they act, and the field responds by arranging the next alignment. It becomes a dance. Science is only beginning to catch up with what mystics have always known. Neuroscience tells us the brain has a reticular activating system, a filter that determines what we notice. That's why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that model everywhere. It was always there. Now you notice. The same is true with synchronicities. When you decide they are real, your filter shifts. You begin to see what was hidden in plain sight. But quantum physics goes deeper. The double-slit experiment revealed that observation itself changes matter. The act of noticing is not passive, it is creative, which means recognizing synchronicities doesn't just reveal reality, it reshapes it. Attention is participation, awareness is creation. Mystics spoke of the same truth in different language. Ask, and it will be given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. This was never about begging a distant deity. It was about alignment with the field. When you ask, truly ask, the field responds with synchronicities. When you seek, you will find patterns. When you knock, the door appears. But again, you must walk through. And here lies the tragedy of our time. Most people see synchronicities, feel the nudge, hear the whisper, and ignore it. They explain it away. They wait for more proof. They let fear convince them that the sign was nothing. And so the dialogue fades, the doors close, the song ends. Not because the universe stopped speaking, but because you stopped listening. The signs will always come, but they are whispers, not shouts. If ignored long enough, they quiet. If followed, they amplify. The choice is yours. I know this because I lived both sides. For years I ignored. I saw the numbers, I felt the nudges, I brushed them off, and my life stayed stuck. But the moment I trusted, even a little, the field surged. Synchronicities became constant, flow replaced friction, and reality revealed itself as conversational. And once you've tasted that, you cannot return to blindness. Because synchronicities are not just anomalies. They are the language of coherence. They are the code of the cosmos. They are the proof that you are not separate from reality. You are threaded into it. And once you live this way, you see it everywhere. The Hermeticists said it, as above, so below, as within, so without. Every synchronicity is that axiom in action. Your inner state reflected in the outer world. The Buddhists spoke of Indra's net, an infinite web of jewels, each reflecting the whole. Every synchronicity is a glimmer of that net, showing you that every piece of reality reflects every other. The Christians spoke of logos, the word that orders chaos into cosmos. Every synchronicity is the logos whispering, the order is here, beneath the surface. So let me say this clearly. Synchronicities are not random. They are reality speaking in its native tongue. And you already know the language. You've always known. You've simply been trained to forget. Now it's time to remember. Synchronicities are the proof that reality is a mirror, but not just a flat mirror, a holographic one. Everywhere you look, ancient wisdom points to this. The Vedic rishis spoke of RTA, the cosmic order that governs everything. They said that when you align with it, life arranges itself in your favor. The Mayans tracked time through the Tzolk'in, a calendar not of linear days, but of sacred patterns. They believed each moment had its own quality, its own rhythm, and when you tuned to it, synchronicity multiplied. The Kabbalists mapped it as the tree of life, a geometry of 10 spheres connected by 22 paths. Each path, they taught, is a channel where divine energy flows into human experience. And here's the astonishing part. Modern science, despite its resistance, is stumbling into the same revelation. Physicists now talk about the holographic principle, that the entire universe may be encoded in every tiny region of space, just as every shard of a broken hologram still contains the whole image. That means every detail of your life contains the pattern of the entire cosmos, which is why synchronicities feel so uncanny, because they are the whole universe winking through a small event, a detail that somehow carries the code of the infinite. Pythagoras said it bluntly, number is the ruler of forms and ideas, and the cause of gods and demons. For him, numbers were not abstractions, they were the architecture of reality. And synchronicities involving numbers, 11, 11, 333, 13, 20, 9, 9, 9, 9, are not superstition. They are glimpses of that architecture revealing itself in your lived experience. They are the universe saying, the code is here. Look closer. And if you think this is poetic exaggeration, consider this. Your DNA, the code of life itself, is written in repeating patterns of base pairs that correspond to numerical ratios. The spiral of galaxies echoes the spiral of seashells. The golden ratio, phi, appears in the branching of trees, the proportions of your bones, the shape of hurricanes. Reality is built on ratios, rhythms, numbers. When a number repeats in your life, when it follows you, it is not arbitrary. It is resonance. It is the pattern beneath the surface calling itself to your attention. But let's make this human. Years after my first awakening to synchronicity, I found myself in another storm. I had just lost someone I loved deeply. The grief was heavy, disorienting, and for weeks I moved through life numb, detached, as if color had drained from the world. And then one evening, scrolling mindlessly through old photos, I saw something I had never noticed before. In the background of one picture we had taken together was a street sign with the number 444. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed, a message from a friend unprompted, simply saying, "Thinking of you, you're not alone." I froze. Something in me broke open, not in despair, in recognition. The number 444 in countless traditions is a symbol of foundation, of being held, of stability in the midst of collapse. It was as if reality itself was saying, even here, even now, you are supported. From that night forward, I began seeing 444 everywhere, on clocks, on receipts, on building addresses. And each time, it arrived at the moment I most needed reassurance. Coincidence? Impossible. It was coherence. It was the field reflecting my inner need without a pattern. It was the cosmos holding me through grief with numbers. This is how synchronicities function. They are not random quirks. They are the compassionate intelligence of the universe speaking in symbols you can recognize. They are tailored to you. The number that follows me may not follow you. The symbol that appears in my path may not appear in yours. Because synchronicities are not general, they are intimate. They are the language of your dialogue with the infinite. Carl Jung, who coined the very word synchronicity, said it clearly. These are meaningful coincidences, events connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. That meaning is what bridges the gap between the inner and outer worlds. It is how the psyche and the cosmos speak to one another. And that bridge, that resonance, is coherence. Think about it this way. Every thought you think sends a ripple through the field. Every feeling vibrates out as frequency. When those ripples align with the deeper order of reality, synchronicities appear. They are the echo, the resonance, the universe saying back to you, "I heard." This is why synchronicities increase when you set a clear intention. It's not that the universe suddenly starts paying attention. It's that you start paying attention. And because attention is participation, the dialogue deepens. But let's go further. Because synchronicities don't just guide individuals, they shape civilizations. The builders of the great cathedrals of Europe aligned their structures with solstices and equinoxes, so that at specific times, light would pierce the stained glass in exact ways. Synchronicity made stone speak. The Mayans aligned their pyramids with celestial events so that shadows on equinox days created the illusion of a serpent descending the steps. Synchronicity made shadow teach. Even modern breakthroughs often hinge on synchronicities. Kekulé, the chemist who discovered the ring structure of benzene, dreamed of a snake eating its tail, the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros, and awoke with the answer. Synchronicity is how the universe delivers its codes when the mind alone cannot solve the puzzle. And here's the shocking part. Even your so-called failures are synchronicities. The job that fell through, the relationship that broke apart, the door that slammed shut. At the time, you thought it was chaos. Later, you saw the hidden order, that without that closed door, you would never have found the open one. Every delay is an alignment in disguise. Every detour is coherence, weaving a path too complex for you to see until you look back. This is why the mystics could speak with such calm. They knew that even apparent misfortune is synchronicity at a larger scale. The Stoics said it this way, amor fati, love your fate. Not because everything is pleasant, but because everything is pattern. Everything is coherence. Everything is the universe arranging itself in dialogue with your soul. So the question is never, are synchronicities real? They are. The question is, will you live as if they are? Because the instant you do, the entire texture of reality shifts. When I finally stopped brushing them aside, when I quit demanding external proof, when I simply trusted the alignments as conversation, the dialogue never stopped. Synchronicities became constant. They guided my words, they shaped my choices, they confirmed the quiet knowing inside me. And slowly I realized this is how reality was always meant to be lived, in dialogue, in coherence. And when you live this way, you are never alone. Because the field itself is companion. The one is always speaking. This is the code the ancients encoded in symbols, the whisper mystics carried through centuries. The truth quantum physics is beginning to circle back to. Synchronicities are the language of coherence, the signature of the universe reminding you that you are not separate. You are the field, and the field is you. Now here's the invitation. Anchor this transmission into the field by leaving a comment with one synchronicity you've experienced. It doesn't have to be explained. Just name it. That single act lets the field know you are paying attention, and it begins to mirror back your highest timeline with even greater precision. And if this resonance is alive in you, subscribe to the Coherence Codex. Every transmission here is designed to keep you aligned with coherence, So the signs become clearer, the dialogue becomes louder, and the path of your highest purpose unfolds without resistance. The field is already speaking. The only question is, are you ready to answer?